I will never switch to a MacBook. That was me about 5 years ago. However, here we are today, and this M2 MacBook Pro has been my main workhorse for the past year. So what happened and why did I switch? That's the story I'd like to tell you today. I'd also just like to give some input on Mac and Mac OS as a lifelong Windows user. So then, last year I went to buy a new laptop, and originally I was just looking at getting a more powerful Windows laptop. However, after many late nights of Googling, I realized that everyone said the same thing. If you're doing a lot of photo and video editing, the MacBooks are simply unbeatable. So I bought one in this exact spec, but I ended up returning it within a month. So why did I return it? Well, sadly, I'm pretty sure I got a lemon, just a bad MacBook. What happened was I plugged my two main hard drives into it and both died pretty much instantly. Just couldn't read or write anything to them. Now you might say, well, that's because they were formatted to Windows and this and that and the other thing. But the fact is that one of them was a pretty much brand new lacy drive formatted in exFAT, so it shouldn't have been an issue. But since I was so stressed due to the amount of work I had going on at the moment, I just lost it. I was like, oh, I can't deal with this. This feels like a mistake. And so I returned the MacBook and got this instead. This is an MSI Creatorbook 16. It is an i9 RTX 4070 64 gigabytes of RAM monster that should, in theory, eat anything you throw at it. But pretty much the same day I unboxed it, I immediately regretted my life decisions. You see, just turning it on and leaving it on as it is now, it is basically cooking. It's super hot. The fans get super loud. It takes ages to boot. I had to carry around a massive power brick. It's 240 watts to power this thing. And quite simply, it just didn't run as smooth as the MacBook. I just had the MacBook for maybe 2 or 3 weeks. But that little taste had gotten me hooked. Lightroom ran smoother than ever. DaVinci Resolve export times were pretty much half of whatever the timeline length was. As soon as I switched, I lost all of that. And so I immediately decided that I'll keep the Windows for now, get all my work out of the way at the moment, but after that, I'm gonna save up and I'm gonna buy a MacBook again. A few months later, I'd saved up enough money to get my second 16-inch MacBook Pro. And this time, I wasn't gonna give up so easy. And now, almost a year later, I'm sitting here and I'm actually getting quite comfortable with it. I've relearned all the keyboard shortcuts and slowly but surely, I am getting to know macOS very well. So then, what do I think? Well, that's what we're gonna get into now. And I'm actually gonna start with the negatives because I'm someone who likes to lift things rather than put them down, so let's get the bad stuff out of the way first. So let's start with the hardware, shall we? One of the things I really had to get used to was that once you open the lid of your super fancy, super expensive MacBook Pro, you're greeted with, wait a minute, there's something missing. There's no number pad. You see, most high-end Windows laptops come with a number pad, and that was something I was very used to. And as someone who runs their own business and does a lot of their work and invoicing and stuff in Google Sheets, having a number pad is really, really nice. Is it something I can live without? Yes, but to be honest, I just found it to be a little bit of a nuisance. And it still just bugs me that they don't offer a version with a number pad. The other thing which actually really annoyed me as a Windows user in the beginning was, why are there so many modifier keys? I mean, there's function, control, option, command, just they take up the whole lower row of the keyboard, it feels like. Just why? Why do I need an extra key to do something that I can just do with 2? There's also some other questionable design choices when coming from the Windows universe, and that is like, okay, you have a massive notch in the screen, but no face unlock? Seriously? I thought that was Apple's entire thing, and when I saw a notch, I was like, oh, maybe it can. No, it can't. It can't do anything. It's just a big dead space of nothingness. It really doesn't make any sense. And for those of you saying, well, they can't fit face recognition because the lid's so thin, the MSI has a thinner lid and it allows for face unlock. Come on, Apple engineers. Stop sleeping on the job. Now, those were some of the original gripes I had with the hardware. However, every time I talk to someone who's a die-hard Apple user, they say, we love Apple because Apple just works. It's a vertically integrated heaven. And while I tend to agree with that, some things don't just work. And most of them are software related and super annoying if you come from a Windows machine. For example, there's no keyboard shortcut to do split screen. There's also no built-in clipboard, which to me was just insane that I have to download an app to get a clipboard to work. On Windows, you simply hit Windows V, click on the thing you want pasted, and it's done. There are also certain UI elements I don't like super small buttons to close and expand windows, and also the fact that when you drag and drop something, you have to drag it to the name of the folder. Like, why do I have to be so precise when navigating macOS? It really slows me down. Another thing that bothers me is also the cluttered menu bar. I mean, you've got your control center, and then you've got your controls that you've left in the menu bar, and then you've got all the apps that live in the menu bar, and then you've got the kind of thing that slides out from the side. There's just so much going on, and it drives me nuts. The thing with Mac and macOS is that there's no lag, animations are smooth, programs open really quickly. It feels fast in that sense. However, moving around and navigating the software and trying to be efficient feels like a drag compared to Windows. So basically, Mac is fast hardware, but inefficient software. But that's enough complaining for now, and those were pretty much all the negatives I've found so far, and let's be honest, they're mostly preferences and things that have annoyed me. So let's go on to the list of positive things. Starting with the hardware. The screen is absolutely fantastic. It looks beautiful, it's nice and smooth with the 120 Hz, and it's just really pleasant to look at for long periods of time. The MacBook also has the absolute best speakers I've heard in any laptop ever, and I actually tend to use them quite a lot. And that leads me on to one of the best hardware features of the MacBook, and that is what I like to call true USB-C charging. So what do I mean by true USB-C charging? All three USB-Cs on the MacBook can be used to charge the MacBook. They also charge the MacBook even if they're getting very low power. So if you've forgotten your charger somewhere or just don't have a very high power charger on hand, you can still charge your MacBook. As a matter of fact, this is one of my favorite features with the MacBook overall. I can charge it in my car, or in a pinch I can charge it off my wimpy little phone charger. Basically, being able to charge your MacBook very slowly and off of a regular USB outlet is massive and has saved me quite a few times already. And that brings me on nicely to one of the main reasons to why you'd buy a MacBook. The M2 chips are just super efficient. They run off an ARM architecture, which, let's be honest, I know too little about to tell you about, but basically it's like having a big smartphone in a laptop chassis. And that's why you can simply open your laptop, it instantly fires up out of some sort of deep sleep, and you can just log in. It's absolutely awesome, and since the M2 is so efficient, I can go a full day without charging, just sitting there editing 4K videos, which, to be honest, has changed how I work and specifically where I work. You see, more often than not, you'll find me not at my desk. I'll either be sitting in bed or in my car or at the kitchen table or maybe even in a park. If you've ever come from a Windows laptop, you know that that is weird. Usually you have to hunt for power outlets and stick your massive charging brick in to get any performance out of it whatsoever. And this feeling is super freeing, and I must say that it just feels like the MacBook is probably the only true laptop I've ever used. It is a truly portable computer. That's one of the reasons why I love it. And that brings us on to Mac OS, because to be honest, it is very different from Windows. For starters, it doesn't have any of the problems that Windows has. Basic connectivity features work. The Wi-Fi doesn't drop out every now and then. I can actually connect Bluetooth devices without it being a massive hassle. There are also no update issues. It doesn't slow down my computer to snail's pace. It doesn't annoy the crap out of me and require 5 restarts. It just does it, which is, oh, so good. There are also other things that have made me pleasantly surprised with macOS. For example, I didn't like Finder in the beginning, but I'm slowly but surely getting used to it and really like how you navigate files. I also absolutely love the Settings app. It feels like I'm just scrolling through the settings on my phone, and it's not like Windows where some settings menus look modern and sleek and others look like they haven't been updated since 2002. So then, after a year, what do I think about Mac and macOS? Quite simply, I love it. Not having to deal with Windows updates and lag is super nice and has saved me a lot of time. It's just perfect for the way that I work, which is photo and video editing on the go. And as a matter of fact, it has actually gotten me slightly more open-minded towards Apple's product lineup. However, like with anything, there are trade-offs. The MacBook isn't perfect. Windows is still a more open software in my experience, and there aren't as many punishments for going outside the walled garden. With that being said, the Mac is my main though. It's absolutely awesome for what I do, and the Windows mostly sits at home as a spare. Anyhow, thanks for listening to me rambling about my experience switching from Windows to Mac. I know there are plenty of videos out there already covering this topic, but since it was such a big change for me, I just wanted to share my experience as well. Thanks for watching, please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video, which most likely will be just as random as this one. See ya.